Hello everyone, I'm Ronald Mehta and welcome back to marketing91.com. We provide management and marketing training to students and professionals worldwide through our courses, videos and community. This video is part of our comprehensive take on the gamut of human resource management. Let's take a stab at the gamut of employee poaching. Employee poaching is an activity in which an employer contacts an employee at a rival business with the goal of persuading that employee to leave that firm and join them in return. This is done because the targeted employee typically possesses the knowledge, expertise, or abilities that may be difficult to discover in the market and are advantageous for the firm that are poaching the employee. Well, let's look at some examples starting with Twitter employees. Elon Musk forced hundreds of Twitter staff to leave, meanwhile Google and Meta poached them. Technology behemoths like Google and Meta have snatched up hundreds of Twitter staff members who parted ways with the firm in the past months in preparation for Elon Musk's planned takeover of the social media platform. Moving further, according to Punks and Pinstripes study of LinkedIn data, 530 employees had put their papers down on Twitter in the last 90 days. This was a 60% rise over the number that left the company in 3 months before that. The members of Punk and Pinstripes, Greg Larkin and Elizabeth Grafford, reported to Insider that they looked over LinkedIn accounts to see which employees left Twitter and where they ended up. According to the data, 30% of the Twitter employees that left in the past quarter were hired by Google or Meta. Numerous additional people have joined prestigious tech firms including LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snap and TikTok. Next, Samsung poaches Apple's chip expert. The eagerly awaited Galaxy S22 series of smartphones, which were launched with Samsung's own Exynos 2200 chipsets in a few locations, were introduced by the company in 2022. The AMD GPU-equipped chips were heavily promoted prior to the release. When the products did, however, ultimately they reached the market, the Exynos 2200 fell short of consumer performance expectations. That's when Kim, a former employee of Apple, has been named director of the lately founded Packaging Solution Center, which is located in the Device Solution America headquarters by Samsung, supposedly to aid in these efforts. Before joining Apple in 2014 and spending 9 years there, Kim held positions at Qualcomm and Texas Instruments. Although Business Korea's story does not expressly state that Kim will focus on the Exynos mobile chipset, but it does mention packaging innovation. These packaging technologies are used by chip manufacturers to get around problems with the SoC integration. Next, some news from India. Two big conglomerates, the Reliance Industries Limited and the Adani Group, signed a No-Poaching Pact. Employees from the two groups will be prohibited from joining the other company by a non-poaching agreement. No legislation, according to legal experts, forbids corporations from signing such contracts. A talent battle in the news and new energy industries would be avoided by the agreement. This agreement is intriguing since it was a pact between two of the biggest conglomerates in India, both of which have recently entered markets where the other has a significant presence. For instance, Reliance has a major foothold in the petrochem industry, and Adani Group announced its debut through their Adani Petrochemicals Limited last year. Moving further, the high-speed data facilities for which Adani has submitted a 5G spectrum proposal is the other area where their paths converge because Jio from the Ambani conglomerate is one of the leading telecom players in India. Companies are at risk from rising labor expenses, particularly in talent scarce areas, and potential bidding can make the risk worse. This agreement enables Adani and Reliance Industries to safeguard their respective top talent both inside and outside of India because they both have global ambitions in a number of areas. Moving further, how does employee poaching work? In industries where employees are required to possess specific technical abilities like programming, coding, analysis, and development, staff poaching is a typical occurrence. When an employee needs someone with these skills, employers and recruiters will get in touch with the employee to offer greater compensation, more perks, or a combination of two to entice them to leave their current employer and work for the new firm. For instance, a software developer who works for a sizable computer system design company may get contacted by a recruiter who offers incentives to him or her in the form of increased compensation in exchange for leaving their present employer to join the new business. Well, the gamut of headhunting comes into play here, which we'll cover in our next video. Moving further, what are the strategies to avoid employee poaching or stop employees from leaving your company? First, a non-poaching agreement. No-poaching agreements which forbids companies from trying to hire staff from other may be made between companies and major industry rivals. Even if an employer applies for the job independently, the arrangement will also apply to hiring. In either case, it prevents the firm from having to lose its finest and most qualified professionals, but it also restricts the members of the staff from pursuing other possibilities that would have been beneficial on their behalf in terms of financial or other circumstances. Next, demand a non-compete pact. A non-compete clause, sometimes known as a non-compete agreement, is a contract between an organization and an employee as opposed to two or more competing employers. According to non-compete clause, after their employment with their present employer ends, the employer is prohibited from working for a competitor for a predetermined period of time. The arrangement may also specify that after leaving the job, the employee is not permitted to launch a rival company. Number 3. Employee engagement measurement. Employee problem areas can be identified by companies that regularly assesses employees' engagement before they grow severe enough to cause individuals to look for somewhere else or become vulnerable to employee poachers. Employees may want to think about asking every staff member to complete an engagement survey made once or twice each year. Or they may want to urge supervisors to schedule frequent meetings with their team to talk about engagement. Well, we have covered the topic of employee engagement in detail under the HRM module. Do check it out. An employer can get advice on how to engage staff members more by learning how they feel about the business and how attached they feel to their roles within it, as in the happiness quotient of being in the firm. At number 4, taking care of the needs of the employees. This is pretty straightforward. The ability to meet their needs should be available once you have measured employee engagement. To keep the top performers from being lured away by poachers from other organizations, it's extremely crucial to pay close attention to what best performance require from your company. Employees may be seeking benefits like consistent work schedules, higher pay and raise structures, possibilities for advancement in their career, secure working environment, credit, and chances to advance their careers. At number 5, the incentive game plan. An employer may use an incentive plan in place or in collaboration with a non-compete deal to maintain individuals on staff. An employee may receive additional benefits and incentives through an incentive plan the longer they work for the company. ESOPs do a great deal here. An incentive program rewards a worker's loyalty with money. Along with that, it is also rewarding for the hard work and the sustained concentration because the worker knows that their efforts help the company succeed. So in return, they are paid off with incentives. Next, establishing a corporate culture. Employees can stay committed to the company if the company culture reflects the principles they hold most dear. For instance, if a business value group effort and creativity and a worker is a very creative person who enjoys working in a team atmosphere, this can be an ideal match for them. Employee engagement, faithfulness, and efficiency can all increase as a result of a positive workplace culture because people tend to be more happy in such settings. And finally, non-solicitation agreement. An agreement that forbids a former staff member from contacting the clients and customers of their previous company is known as a non-solicitation agreement, which is comparable to a non-compete agreement. In this case, if your employees leave, they should not take your clients. Typically works in the sales gamut. A salesman, for instance, may have developed connections with customers, may have grown to be dependent on them to help them meet their share by way of products being upsold or by continuing to fulfill their regular purchases. If the same salesman has agreed to a non-solicitation clause, they may be reluctant to leave because they would have to build up their clientele in the new company from scratch. Finally, employees who would prefer to be able to perceive their client lists, which can prevent staff poaching from succeeding. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the gamut of employee poaching. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Thank you and stay tuned for more videos.